Hello everyone and welcome to EduSearch Clinics. I am Dr. Gunjan Desai and today we are going to start a topic which was requested by some of our viewers, and that is management of liver space occupying lesions or SOLs. In the first part we are going to look at the general overview and then discuss in detail about liver cell adenoma or hepatocellular adenoma. So incidentalomas or space occupying lesions in liver, they are unexpected or incidentally diagnosed masses. Present a challenge in diagnosis. The ratio of malignant to benign is 1 is to 2. There is diagnostic uncertainty because a lot of them don't have characteristic imaging features. MRI is not routinely done. There are different treatment pathways for different lesions that you see in liver, and prognosis completely depends on initial differentiation and identification. So whether you need a biopsy, whether you need an MRI, whether you need surgery, embolization, ablation, all of this depends on your diagnosis. So focusing on the benign lesions first, they can be epithelial or mesenchymal. Epithelial, basically, as we know, liver has two primary cellular structures: the liver cells, which are hepatocytes, and biliary cells, which are cholangiocytes. In hepatocellular epithelial tumors in benign group, the common ones are hepatic adenoma or liver cell adenoma and focal nodular hyperplasia. There can also be nodular regenerative hyperplasia, but that is less common. Overall, the most common in this group is a mesenchymal tumor, which is hemangioma. After hemangioma, the second most common is focal nodular hyperplasia. Cholangiocellular epithelial tumors are bile adenoma or bile adenofibroma. There is also something known as biliary cyst adenoma, which is also known as mucinous cystic neoplasm of the liver. And then you have the biliary hamartomas, which are not actually tumors. They are also known as von Meinberg complexes. Coming to mesenchymal tumors, there can be hemangioma or hemangioendothelioma, fat containing tumor lipoma or myelolipoma. Leiomyoma is very rare. Mesenchymal hamartoma, and we have published a paper on mesenchymal hamartoma management. Others include inflammatory pseudotumors. So basically, abscesses can present as benign tumors sometimes and need differentiation, inflammatory pseudotumors. Then you have cystic lesions, and then you have malignant lesions. So out of all these, today we are going to see hepatocellular adenoma. Like I said, the three most important ones that were highlighted in the previous slide. Hemangioma is the most common. FNH or focal nodular hyperplasia is second most common, and rare but relatively common if you are in a liver group is a liver cell adenoma. Age group, most of them present in between 20 and 40. Hemangioma can present in any age group. Malignant potential is there only in liver cell adenoma in some specific subtypes, as we will see in upcoming talk. So coming to hepatocellular adenoma, it is a rare benign epithelial liver tumor occurring in young women, and it is strongly associated with estrogen exposure. Female is to male ratio is 9 is to 1, commonly asked in exams. Affects women between 20 and 40 years age group, and incidence has increased with widespread use of oral contraceptive pills. Coming to the risk factors, hormonal risk factors are most common. Long-term OC pills, increased risk is with duration of use and higher estrogen dose. Pregnancy can cause sudden increase in the size of the tumor. Other than this, metabolic syndrome, including obesity and metabolic non-alcoholic liver disease, type 1 glycogen storage disease, anabolic steroids in men is a risk factor. Other than this, it is hemochromatosis or iron overload in beta thalassemia and patients with portocaval shuns. Important point to remember: if you see a liver SOL in a young woman with OCPIL use, you are looking at a hepatocellular adenoma. Coming to the various patterns or types of liver cell adenoma, it can be a steatotic type, a telangiectatic or pileotic type, and a mixed type. Steatotic type, as the name suggests, there is marked steatosis with bland hepatocytes and minimal atypia. dilated sinusoids and telangiectasia with inflammatory infiltrate with foci of hemorrhage and thrombosis is seen in the telangiectatic type, and mixed type is where you see features of both. More important than this classification is the molecular subtyping, which is now very commonly used in hepatocellular adenoma. Group 1 is the HNF1 alpha mutated, and this is the steatotic type usually. It is one of the second most common hepatocellular adenomas. Overall, the most common type is the telangiectatic type, more commonly seen in obese women. HNF1 alpha mutated are multiple, but the risk of hemorrhage and malignant transformation is not there. On the other hand, the group 2, which is the beta-catenin mutation, less common, more commonly seen in men, especially with anabolic steroid use. However, they are solitary and they have the highest risk of malignant transformation. Remember that all women with tumor more than 5 centimeter, and especially if it is beta-catenin activated, all of them need surgery. Coming to group 3, as we discussed, is the most common type, which is the telangiectatic activation of inflammatory pathway. It is IL-6 related. They can be solitary or multiple. The risk of hemorrhage is high because they have telangiectasias, but the risk of malignant transformation is not as high as the ones with beta-catenin. Group 4 is unclassified, where you don't see any of the genetic or morphologic subtypes as seen in group 1, 2, or 3. This is the least common group, and overall it does not fit any other subtypes. So the key points when it comes to liver cell adenoma, and all of these are exam questions as well. Young woman with occipital use, you are looking at group 1 steatotic type of hepatocellular adenoma. Common complications in beta-catenin type is highest risk of malignancy. Hemorrhage is highest in telangiectatic type. MRI is the best modality for subtyping, and we will see imaging features in the next slide. Management depends on size, symptoms, gender, and molecular subtype. So coming to imaging, ultrasound is usually the first test that shows you that there is a liver SOL. These lesions can be hyperechoic, well defined, and may show a central feeding artery, in contrast enhanced ultrasound. CT scan, if you do after an ultrasound, though I must confess that these days when you see a lesion in liver, the modality of choice is MRI liver protocol. We have a separate video on CT, MRI as well as MRI liver protocol. Have a look if you have not seen it in the past. There is also videos on the basics of MRI that you need to understand if you want to start diagnosing these lesions. So the feature of hepatocellular adenoma, whether it's CT or MRI, on contrast, intense enhancement and persistent enhancement is seen only in inflammatory subtype. For HNF1 alpha subtype, there is rapid washout. Okay, so this is how you can differentiate between these two on a CT scan. Both of them have good enhancement in the arterial phase, but there is rapid washout in HNF1 alpha subtype, whereas there is persistent enhancement because of its vascular nature in the telangiectatic subtype. Like I said, MRI is the best modality for diagnosis. Again, here, two important points in HNF1 alpha subtype, there is rapid washout in the delayed phase, but because it is steatotic, there is loss of signal on fat suppressed or opposed phase images. On the other hand, the inflammatory subtype will not have a loss of signal on fat suppressed images, and there will be no washout in the delayed phase. So that is how you can differentiate these lesions on MRI. So imaging clues to subtype, again commonly asked in exam and important if you are treating these patients, because there is marked steatosis. The fat suppressed and opposed image will show signal loss in HNF1 alpha subtype. There will be rapid washout in delayed phase in HNF alpha subtype. Both of these are not seen in inflammatory subtype. So this is something that you need to remember on imaging. Coming to management, conservative management is suitable for women with lesion less than 5 centimeter and HNF1 alpha subtype, as well as asymptomatic patients. What you can do is stop OC pills, weight reduction, MRI surveillance, 6 months and then 12 months, avoid estrogen therapy, and make sure that the patient understands that if there is pregnancy being planned, they need to get this treated first. Many adenomas regress and reduce in size after cessation of oral contraceptives. So important point is that most hepatocellular adenomas, especially the HNF1 alpha subtype, or when they are less than 5 centimeter with imaging features suggestive of HNF1 alpha subtype, they can be observed. Indications of surgery: all male patients with hepatic adenoma, all female patients with adenoma greater than 5 centimeter after 3 to 6 months of cessation of OC pills, symptomatic tumors, growing lesions despite conservative management, suspicion of malignancy, and beta-catenin mutation. This has the highest risk of malignant transformation. Management of bleeding, as we saw, it is commonly seen in the telangiectatic type. The routine measures are resuscitation, hemodynamic monitoring and management, blood transfusion. Initial treatment will be angiography with selective arterial embolization, and this is followed by liver resection after stabilization. Emergency surgery usually is never required, but you may need it only if embolization is unsuccessful or not feasible. So remember this slide, your indications of surgery, conservative management, how to do it, and in cases of bleeding, how to manage these patients. So with that, we come to an end on our discussion of hepatocellular adenoma. In the next video, we will look at two other important liver SOLs and finish the big three when it comes to liver space occupying lesions, that is hemangioma and focal nodular hyperplasia. Thank you.